Welcome to the Scenario Podcast, your guide to mental health and well-being. Each episode, we uncover practical tools, discuss expert insights, and explore how supplements can transform your mental health journey. Get ready to learn, grow, and thrive with us.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're taking a really close look at something many people have heard about for mental well-being, St. John's wort. It's, widely used, especially if people talk about it for mild, maybe moderate depression. We'll be getting into its traditional roots, the science that's building up behind it, but also, and this is important, some significant safety flags we need to discuss.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Our goal here is really to pull out the key takeaways from the sources we looked at. We want to cover the potential upsides, the downsides, the science bits, so you walk away feeling, properly informed.
Okay, great. So let's start at the beginning. The plant itself. What is St. John's wort? Its formal name is Hypericum perforatum. You'd recognize it by these really bright yellow, kind of star-shaped flowers, native to Europe. And here's a fun bit of history.
Yeah.
The name. It apparently comes from St. John the Baptist's feast day.
Right. Late June.
Yeah, late June, which is usually when it flowers and gets harvested. And get this, people used to hang it over doors.
Mm-hmm. To ward off evil spirits, supposedly.
It's quite a leap, isn't it? From fending off spirits to maybe helping with low mood. Quite the history.
It really is. And its medicinal use goes back centuries. Traditional herbal folks used it for, a whole range of things. Moods, but also these mood issues we're talking about. And that use continues. You see it in traditional Chinese medicine, and it's actually a pretty standard thing for depression in a lot of European countries. Now, scientifically speaking, the focus is mainly on two active compounds, hyperricin and hyperforin. The thinking is that these compounds interact with neurotransmitters in the brain, the messengers like serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, all crucial for mood. They sort of help fine-tune that communication system, a bit like how standard antidepressants are thought to work.
Which brings us right to the core issue. How well does it actually work for depression? And like you said, the sources really hammer home this is mostly about mild to moderate cases. That's a key point.
It absolutely is. And there's been quite a bit of research, lots of clinical trials looking at its effects, often using tools like the Hamilton Depression Rating Scale, AMD score. And here's what's really interesting. A number of these studies found that St. John's wort extracts led to, pretty similar results, remission rates even, compared to common prescription drugs, like SSRIs.
Similar results to SSRIs, wow.
Yeah. And crucially, the trials often reported fewer side effects. And people were less likely to stop taking it compared to both SSRIs and older antidepressants, the TCAs. There was even a big meta-analysis, a study combining results from lots of other studies. This one looked at 27 trials, over 3,800 patients. It backed up the idea. Comparable effectiveness to SSRIs for that mild to moderate range. But, and this is significant, much lower dropout rates because of side effects.
That's pretty compelling. Suggests it's not just folklore. It can hold its own against prescriptions in some cases. Did the sources mention anything about situations where it might not be as helpful, even in that mild to moderate group?
That's a good point. The research mostly looks at general adult populations with those symptoms. The sources didn't really pinpoint specific groups within that range where it wouldn't work, but they do stress, individual results can vary, like with anything. But here's where it got really interesting for me, looking deeper into how it might work beyond just those neurotransmitters. Some lab research, in vitro stuff on a purified extract, found it could actually boost neuronal plasticity.
Plasticity, so the brain's ability to adapt.
Exactly, adapt to stress, change, and it also seemed to promote neurogenesis, literally making new brain cells. Plus, the same extract showed anti-inflammatory activity and seemed to offer neuroprotection. Basically, protecting brain cells from damage linked to things like glutamate and NMDA, which are implicated in depression when they get out of whack.
So it might be doing more than just juggling chemicals, maybe helping the brain structure itself.
That seems to be the suggestion, yeah. Affecting resilience, maybe.
Okay, but, and there's always a but, especially with powerful substances, we absolutely have to shift gears and talk about the risks, the other side of the coin. Because while it seems generally safe for short-term use in healthy folks, it's definitely not without potential problems.
Couldn't agree more. That's vital. So common side effects.
Yeah.
You might get some nausea, maybe dizziness, fatigue, dry mouth, things like that. But a big one to know about is increased sensitivity to sunlight, photosensitivity.
Meaning you sunburn much more easily.
Much more easily, yeah. Your skin just loses some of its defense against UV rays. Even mild sun can cause a bad burn. But honestly, the most serious risks are the drug interactions. This is critical. See, St. John's wort interacts with a specific enzyme system in your liver. Think of it like your body's drug processing center. St. John's wort basically speeds up that center, makes it work over time.
Okay. So it breaks down other drugs faster.
Exactly. Which can mean those other drugs don't work as well,
Right.
or their levels drop unexpectedly, or it can cause other harmful interactions. And the list of drugs to avoid combining it with is really, really important. You absolutely should not take it with SSRIs, SNRIs, or any other antidepressants.
Right, because of that serotonin syndrome risk?
Precisely. Serotonin syndrome. It's rare, but can be life-threatening. Too much serotonin activity in the brain. Also on the avoid list, birth control pills.
Oh, that could reduce their effectiveness?
Potentially, yes. Also blood thinners, like warfarin, HIV medications, and chemotherapy drugs. The impact of these interactions can be really significant, messing with essential treatments.
Okay, so pulling all this together, it sounds like St. John's wort might be an option for someone with mild to moderate depression, maybe someone who prefers a natural route, provided they aren't taking any of these interacting meds. That's the huge caveat.
That's the key. And conversely, it's likely not suitable if you are on prescription meds, especially the ones we listed, or if you have severe depression, any suicidal thoughts, or if you're pregnant or breastfeeding.
Which just highlights, again, you really need to talk to a doctor before even thinking about it.
Absolutely essential.
Okay, practically speaking then, dosage. What did the studies typically use?
The standard dose often cited is 300 milligrams of extract, and this is usually standardized to contain 0.3% hypericin, taken 3 times a day, so that totals 900 milligrams daily.
Right.
It's worth mentioning, too, some products are standardized based on the hyperforin content instead, which is another key active compound.
So the important thing is looking for that standardization on the label from a brand you trust.
Exactly. Standardization helps ensure you're getting a consistent amount of the active ingredients, which is important for both effectiveness and safety. Look for trusted brands. And that leads nicely into some common questions people have.
Yeah, like how long does it take to actually feel a difference?
Good question. Most studies suggest, and user reports often confirm, maybe 2 to 4 weeks to start noticing effects. But it varies, person to person.
Okay. And the big one we keep coming back to, can you take it with antidepressants?
And the answer remains a very firm no. We really have to stress that. The risk of serotonin syndrome is just too high. It's strongly advised against.
Got it. What about long-term use? Is it safe to take for months or years?
Well, that's where the research gets a bit thin. Most studies look at use up to about 12 weeks. There isn't a lot of solid data on safety beyond that. So if you're thinking long-term, that's definitely a conversation for your healthcare provider. Essential.
Makes sense. One more, does it help with anxiety? People often ask that.
It might help indirectly, maybe. If your anxiety is tangled up with depression, improving mood might lessen some anxiety symptoms. But it's not really seen as a primary treatment just for anxiety itself. There are other things usually recommended first for anxiety disorders.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. Our deep dive suggests St. John's wort is, well, it's a genuinely promising natural option for mild to moderate depression. It's got history behind it and increasingly scientific studies too. But, and it's a huge but, that risk of interacting with other medications is significant. It demands real caution and definitely medical guidance.
It really does. And, this whole discussion raises a bigger point, doesn't it? When you look at natural remedies like this one, clearly powerful enough to have effects, but also potent enough to cause problems like interactions. How do you navigate all that?
Yeah.
How do you explore options for mental well-being safely and make informed choices? It really makes you think about balancing that traditional knowledge with what modern science tells us, especially when it comes to your own health. Something to mull over.
Thanks for tuning in to the Scenario Podcast. Don't forget to visit scenario.com for more expert tips, articles, and supplements designed to support your mental health. If you enjoyed this episode, remember to subscribe and share it with a friend. Until next time, take care of yourself.